Hi, I'm Tammy Shiambade, Houston-based attorney and host of the Ask Tammy live show. This is one of the places where we do what? Talk about the best ways to establish your business, protect your name, and keep your profits. So today, what we want to answer is, should I form a business in Delaware? When people are starting off their businesses, there's a lot of talk about how you should start. And one of the things that people talk about is where they should form their business. And so the question deserves some attention. So let's unpack that a little bit. I'll just go ahead and answer it. I don't think that you necessarily need to form a business in Delaware. There are some benefits for sure. So let's talk about what those are. The first one is that when we're talking about business law, Delaware kills it in the sense that they're one of those forward-thinking states. They have really well-established and well-tested law. So if you ever find yourself in a lawsuit, you kind of know where it's going in Delaware because it's just more established. Another thing is we know investors like Delaware. So if you're looking into investments, it might be an option because investors can trust, again, that well-established law that you see in Delaware. Another thing that can be beneficial is that there's no sales tax, right? So if you're not doing business in Delaware, you don't have to pay taxes on it. Oh, and then the other thing is privacy, right? So one of the cool things about Delaware law is that when you're forming your business and you're filling out some of those formation documents, you're not required to put your name and your address in a place that makes it public, right? So if you need that privacy, if you're sensitive about creating your business and you don't have any other options and you just really value that privacy, then Delaware might be an option. Now, there's this perceived notion that being in Delaware also means that, hey, it's going to be cheaper for you. And that's where I think it becomes a question of, is it really, really, really that important? Or is it really that beneficial to you to form a business in Delaware? See, here's the thing. You can form the business in Delaware, which again looks good to investors and no sales tax. But the question is, where are you doing the majority of your business? If you're doing your business or you're doing the majority of your business in a state that has pretty good law and they're not crazy in terms of, the fees, that filing fees that you might pay and required fees throughout the year, then there might not be any real benefit to doing Delaware law. Because here's the thing. If you form your business in Delaware, but you carry out the majority of your business in another state, let's say here in Texas, like where I practice, right? You're going to have to file documentation with the state of Texas that says, hey, I do business here. And Texas is going to require your taxes. You're not going to be able to skip out on those, right? And Texas is still going to have its main requirements because you're doing business there. Now, here's the thing. If you're doing business in a place like Texas, Texas has pretty good established laws. And they're not the cheapest in terms of formation, but they're by far not the most expensive. When it comes to their annual fees, they're really, really, really cost effective. You do have to pay your sales tax, but there's no real required annual tax like you have in a state like California, for example, where every year you're required to pay $800. That doesn't exist in Texas. One of the things that you'll think about Texas is whether you hit a specific threshold. If you hit about $1 million, I think it's $1.5 million right now. If you make $1.5 million in revenue, then yes, you're going to be subject to certain franchise taxes, but you have to reach that level first before you're subject to it. And so you don't have these annual fees that are associated with other areas. So if you're looking at a place like the state of Texas, and that's where you're doing your business, I don't really see the benefit for trying to create a Delaware LLC or corporation. Now, if you're dealing with investors and that's something you're very sure that that's what you're going to try and do, then that might push that argument, a little bit more to the other side because investors really do like Delaware law and they may require you to convert your entity to a Delaware entity if that, funding goes far. So that is one important consideration when you're deciding, okay, where should I go? But if it's really about saving money, you might not be saving any money by forming in Delaware. You just might be requiring yourself to now pay an additional fee in Delaware. And here's another thing I want to point out that kind of adds to those costs. If you don't live in Delaware, that means you have to pay for the registered agent in Delaware. That's going to be an annual fee. And then you'll also be required to pay Delaware's annual fee because if they don't have an annual one, they have a biannual one where you are required to pay. And you have to worry about the documentation that's required in Delaware. So there are some important factors that you want to consider when you're deciding, hey, should I form a Delaware entity, so the LLC corporation or not? That's all I've got for you today. If you have more questions about this, if you're trying to decide what's the best process, where should I go in terms of forming my business, feel free to reach out to me and we can talk. You can find me on my website, www.toslegal.com, or you can find me on social media, same handle, TOS Legal. All right. Can't wait to talk to you soon. Have a great day. Bye.